We did some. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining this live chat conversation within the series of Digital Collab. This time, we are dedicating this event to Digital Collab Oceania, and just on that angle, I've just been joined us in the studio, Nivek Thompson. Hi, Nivek. Welcome to
Hi.
the Digital Collab Oceania, and it's really great to be here with all of you and having this fireside chat conversation in the evening for most of you. Of course, for me and my dear friend Martin, is early morning. And
Mhm.
Martin, as you can see, was caught in the traffic, so he will be joining us from his car, which is an amazing example of how virtual collaboration can make us so much more productive. Because otherwise, Martin will be not in this conversation. So, welcome all. I'm very pleased also to have here my dear colleague from the IIF Japan, Kazu, and
Yes,
he is a renowned consultant in Japan and an organizational development expert and also a facilitator. He has hosted many meetings and also the World Cafes gatherings in Japan. So he's a person that I admire a lot, and I hope that he could also start this conversation by sharing some of his thoughts on these. And also with us we have Martin Duffy, which is for the moment out of the
mm,
loop. But we have here Nivek Thompson from Australia and Sekar Chandy. Uh, they're both guests in this conversation, and they need to also introduce themselves a little bit while we start this conversation. And in order to start, perhaps Kazu as our guest speaker and featured speaker in this event that then converted to a fireside chat conversation. I'll give you the floor to set up the stage, and then by alphabetical order, then Nivek Thompson and then Sikar,
mm.
if you agree. And Martin, if he joins us in the meantime, also to step in the conversation. Kazu?
Right.
All over
Yes.
to you.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very interesting place. I have been facilitating the World Cafe for many years and many times. Even before the COVID-19, we started World Cafe evening almost every month. And that was face-to-face workshop. And then we had to move to online online World Cafe. As you know, in the face-to-face World Cafe, we are using a sheet of paper tablecloth to draw pictures with concept and so forth. But now on online, we are using, first we started to use Google Document, then we switched to Google Slide, and recently we're also using Jamboard and also the Miro. So variety of tools. But the problem we are facing now is that some people don't like to draw picture or type in words while talking. So talking and writing at the same time is difficult for people, for some people. In the real time and face-to-face situation, it's much easier to use, the paper tablecloth to write, draw picture and so forth and talking. So last night, yes, actually last night we had the recent World Cafe online, and the World Cafe host asked people not to write, draw picture, instead concentrate on the talking. And after 15 minutes, the cafe host asked participant to draw to write their thought in the Jamboard, and we shared. So lots of experience is going on. We are still looking for the best way to use substitute of paper cloth as the World Cafe, online World Cafe.
Absolutely. There are so many challenges in taking us online and making sure that what I believe will be in the near future, if not in the present, what we call the virtual economy. This term means, in my view, is the advantage, the cost saving, the carbon reduction that you accomplish by translating human connections, human work to the virtual space, virtual economy. So, Nivek, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself also and share a little bit your experience with this challenge of taking us on the virtual space collaboratively.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me, Paul. I'm really pleased to be here. So I'm based in Sydney, in Australia, and I do a lot of different things. I'm basically interested in the democratic engagement of citizens. I'm doing a PhD on a part-time basis looking at democratic innovations and how well they contribute to improving democracy. And I also do support myself doing my PhD. I run a small consultancy called Deliberately Engaging, and we do a range of things, but one of the things we do is around online engagement. And we tend to use a platform which I think Paul's familiar with called Synthetron, which is an online dialogue platform. As you say, Kazu, it's typing. And so some people don't like that, but the nice thing about it is that it's totally anonymous because you don't know who you're dealing with. And it's got a range of nice features, which I won't sort of just do a sell here for you. But since COVID, what we've been doing a lot of is combining Zoom with this tool where people go in and out and in and out. And that works really nicely because you can report back on what came out, because the system asks people to score other people's comments as well. And so very quickly, you know what comments and ideas have got support or not. And so it means you can immediately report back to people. You don't have someone reporting back on what their group did. You know, you've got a screen that shows you the top agreements. And that works really nicely. I mean, I even did a session that went for 4 hours, which was from 5 in the afternoon to 9 at night. I wouldn't have done that, but the client had already organised that. But it worked really nicely. We had a lot of, we did things with them on the Zoom, interactive things, and then we went into the Synthetron and back and forth, and so that worked really nicely. More recently, I've been. I have found that people are so used to Zoom that as soon as you put them into something else, they find it difficult because they just want to stick with Zoom. And I don't really like that idea that, there's only one tool that works for everything. The other thing is recently I've been involved in developing a course with my university where I'm doing my PhD called, 2 courses, one called Leading Deliberative Democracy and one called Doing Deliberative Democracy. And that course is all online. And so when we've had to do interactive things, we've used Zoom. Like you've said, we've used Miro, Jamboard, we've done breakout groups. We've also used recently, which worked quite nicely at the end of the course, was, it wasn't Poll Everywhere, Mentimeter. And what I hadn't realised about Menti is that you can actually do presentations with questions all in between them. So you sort of have like slides with questions. So it's quite interactive. Like I didn't do the slides. I had 4 slides, so 4 different questions that I asked people to respond to, which were basically evaluation questions. But, there's a lot, like they've got they've got some pro formas. They've got a really nice pro forma about listening skills, where people can, be the presentation takes people through a listening skills exercise and then has them respond to what they learn. So, there's so many lovely tools out there that really, and the nice thing with Menti is that people can use it on their phone. So they're not having to go in and out of different screens on their computer. So that's a nice one there, just to sort of, and a lot of the time you can just ask them for one word or a couple of words and do a word cloud or something. So it saves it's not a lot of typing. But yeah, that's my experience.
Thanks a lot, Nivek. Thank you so much for sharing that experience as well. And I think Marty's already also in the studio, so I will bring you here, Martin, and from your mobile phone. Stick with us, Martin, for as long as you like. And if you feel that suddenly you're out of the battery, don't worry. I'll try to involve you as much as possible on this conversation, as I will explain later why. And Sekar Shandi is joining us from Jakarta, Indonesia. So this is close. Do you consider yourself to be in Asia or in Oceania or in the between, Sekar?
In Asia, of course.
In Asia, definitely. But Asia, we had already Digital Facilitation Asia in early in April. And we hope to have it again next year in April also. So welcome to Digital Collab Oceania, Sekar. And tell us a little bit about your work, because you're also a facilitator, and the challenges on taking your groups to the virtual world.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. So I'm Sekar, a facilitator and community development program, especially in literacy all over Indonesia. Actually, I'm working for a community library all over Indonesia. I'm lucky. Before pandemic, I've learned about digital platform with Kazu, with his program. Actually, it's monthly program or bi-monthly program. I use to spend sometimes to join Kazu program. So during the pandemic, I already familiar with digital platform. I don't have difficulties to create program in digital platform, but I have to spend sometimes to explain how to use digital platform for my colleagues, my participants. And in Indonesia, we have a very vast country. We have more than 13,000 islands with difficulties in electricity and internet connection. So when I have to move offline facilitation into online facilitation, I have to think about that. I have to think about our difficulties. So usually in facilitation, I use tools that are using minimal bandwidth, or if we have to, to use like Miro, the facilitator and co-facilitator help participants to use the tools, so they can, giving us ideas, voicing about their mind with our help. And also I use, I have to mix, because sometimes participants cut out with our program, like Martin today. So I mix our online facilitation with WhatsApp. So I using WhatsApp group to ensure that all participants can join our activity. Even they don't use, like Zoom or Google Meet at that time, but I can still reach out the participants in our platform.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we are already touching on lots of experience and engagement here. We suddenly lost Kazu. Also, that's part of the world of video conferences. And Marty, over to you now, taking advantage of the few minutes of your battery use. Is it a real challenge for you to take your customers on the virtual world, or not that much?
Excuse me, sorry, Paul. Yes, I think it is a challenge, and I suppose just my own participation in this particular conversation exemplifies many of the challenges actually that we face with blending the virtual with the real time. So I've just switched from driving to parking. I've switched from my laptop to my mobile phone. I've now secured my battery because I've got it plugged into my electric car. I still haven't been able to get back to my office, but I'm still able to participate and take part. So from that point of view, I think the digital world gives us so much more flexibility. However, I think it actually comes at a cost. And I think the cost is not only bandwidth in the technical sense of having capacity to carry video and audio, but actually there's mental bandwidth for participants. For people who may not be particularly comfortable with the digital, who may find something as simple as the camera not working or the microphone not working, that can consume an incredible amount of people's mental capacity, which is effectively taking away from their ability to participate. So for me, I think one of the biggest challenges is to bring all members of the group to a common baseline with the technology that's being used for an event, so that we can get a kind of a common level of contribution from everybody. For me, that's probably one of the biggest challenges, because everybody is so different in digital literacy terms.
Absolutely, Martin, and thank you so much. Kazu, maybe you would like to add something here. I would remind us about the importance of the methods, the methodologies we can use for group process. Kazu, do you want to step in here for a moment?
Well, I'm not quite sure this is methodology, but another challenge I'm facing is the language problem. And because of the online communication, the world has expanded very wide, and now we have big opportunity to communicate with variety of different people, diverse population. But for us, especially in Japan, we are not good at speaking English, so the language is a big problem. But so I'm trying to find out, the good digital tool to bridge the gap. For example, the Zoom recently provide subtitle only English, but English simultaneously English subtitle appear at the bottom of the screen. That will be very helpful for us, at least by looking the text. I can understand what's going on. Another opportunity, interesting tool we are now experimenting is a Microsoft translator. That is very unique and very attractive system if the translation is more accurate. By using that, we can participate in the meeting with our own language, for example, Japanese or Spanish, Chinese, whatever. So this is an amazing system. This is this is good for the hearing impaired person, and also like me, a senior person who is getting difficult in hearing. So those people, the visualization of the conversation is very convenient. And also I'm trying to find out a good digital tool for the blind, visually impaired person, and so forth. So I totally agree, Martin, that we have to include, we have to achieve completely inclusive workshop. Thank you.
Nivek, Sakar, you would like to step in?
I think one of the problem is language barrier for your understanding that in Asia we have so many our local language, but I think I once joined a World Cafe at Kazu and he provide translation Japan to English, and really help me to understand the discussion actually. And we would love to have that tool actually to help us with a minimum understanding in English to join our discussion, international discussion actually. That's the problem in Indonesia actually, language barrier. So it's not many Indonesian join international discussion because of they are hesitate to voicing their idea, their understanding because limited language problem. That's the barrier we have to to tackle in a digital platform actually.
Okay, fantastic. And now,
Paul, could I just? Sorry, Paul. Could I just make an
ahead.
observation on the question of the methodology? And this is a point, Paul, that you and I have discussed previously with other guests that we've had on our own Fireside chats. And I think it particularly applies when you go almost trans-global with events. It accentuates this problem, and it's a question of timing. So if you think about a conventional face-to-face workshop, we would typically segment the workshop into 1 hour chunks, 45-minute to 1 hour chunks. And we build our exercises and our discussions around a break every hour or perhaps hour and a half. I think in the digital collaboration space, I think we need much more frequent breaks. Because I think we're putting significantly more demands on people's attention and people's focus in order to get the same level of output for them from a particular event. So where in the face-to-face context, our methodologies almost subconsciously are built around people's ability to communicate without being verbal. So we have the visuals of people writing, people putting up post-it notes, people exchanging glances, people having their own just 10-second sound, a sidebar comments and observations. All of those things become different in the digital context, and I think they how would you put it? The personal resource that is being demanded through the digital media, I think, is much more challenging for people, which then I think means that people's capacity to stay with the conversation for anything more than about 20 to 25 minutes becomes challenged. So I think from a methodology point of view, I think our workshops and our interactions in a digital setting need to be segmented on much shorter time frames than they would traditionally be in face-to-face meetings.
Fantastic, Martin. Thank you so much. Anyone else stepping in at this point? We have still a few minutes to go, Nivek.
We've faced similar problems here. I'm involved with a lot of deliberative processes like citizens' juries, and we've had a number of situations here where we've planned 2 or 3 days face-to-face and had to, at the last minute, change it to online because of COVID situations in, whichever place the meetings were being held. And generally speaking, if we had a sort of a 9 to 3 day planned or something like that, we change it to a 10 to 3 with an hour and a half break in the middle, because you just, and basically, I guess in a sense you're being a bit more focused. But one of the challenges I think that we've noticed, particularly with deliberative processes, is how people have that interaction. Like in most meetings, there's a lot of, morning tea discussions, getting to know people, various things like that, which is kind of harder in an online setting. I mean, obviously there's things you can do to improve it, but it does become, some of those interpersonal relationships that help the process work, or any process, but a deliberative process in particular, aren't available. I'm just going to share, I think I'm going to share it in the private chat. I was the producer of a podcast called Facilitating Public Deliberation, and we did about 6 episodes about online moving deliberation. But there's one which I'm just sharing the link to now, where a woman, Emily Jenke, had to move a process that had started face-to-face online, and she used a lot of tools to do that. So I just thought people might be interested. The episodes on either side of this also deal with online deliberation, and I think there's lessons for other types of processes, whether they're deliberative or not. But yeah.
Definitely. I'm trying to open up the resources you shared so I can share to all the participants. But anyone else would like to step in on Nivek's last observation?
Yeah, just one comment. In order to involve participants more actively, small group conversation is very good. Nice idea. This is also in face-to-face conversation. This applies to face-to-face conversation, but in the online conversation as well. But only one problem we recently found is that in real face-to-face setting, even if you are communicating, having a discussion in a small group, you can hear some noise or the listen to other groups' conversation. So, but in the real online situation, we are confined in breakout rooms and cannot understand what's going on outside. So it's a kind of atmosphere, but I want to find good way to feel other participants in a different room, even in an online situation. I don't have a solution yet. Thank you.
That's an interesting challenge, to try to make virtual as close as possible to real. That's really a challenge. But anyway, I would like to steer up the conversation, so we have still a few minutes to go. And in order to make you think on what else could we be doing in the virtual world to make it even more unique and more attractive for people, and in comparison with physical. Okay, I know that's impossible to beat the actual coffee break experience, where you have taking the coffee, looking at each other faces. Okay, so let's forget about that. What will be other advantages that we could find in the virtual collaboration that could make these as a preferred way to make things happen?
I think, Paul, in Indonesia, it's helping us because, traveling all over Indonesia quite expensive. So it's helping us to have collaboration from east to west. We have a online discussion without leaving our hometown. It's really, really helping us actually. That's one benefit. We have a digital platform, and the other, I have to ensure that we include. We have inclusivity with we include everyone, especially with people with visual impairment or hearing impairment. We have to think about that. So before the facilitation, usually I ask about that to the participants. So we have to think how to use the tools to help them to including to join our group discussion easily.
Thank you.
I heard a very interesting story from my colleague, woman facilitator. She was giving a seminar online, and one day she found one participant who was a woman was carrying kids, baby, holding baby, and participating in the workshop seminar. And she says that that lady who was participating, holding children, could not participate in face-to-face seminar outside.
Right.
But so she didn't have an opportunity to participate in such seminars. But now, because of online, she can participate. That is a benefit of online.
Right.
That was a very impressive story for me.
It's a beautiful, beautiful story, Kazu. Beautiful story.
We're not frozen, are we?
Hopefully not.
I'm just allowing for the silence to take over.
I
thought that
I mean,
it's freezing here.
No, this is our incubation moment to I think that story, Kazu.
Right.
Again, Paul, Paolo, I'm reminded of a very recent conversation we had where one of our participants made the point, he called it liminal space. So he talked about when we're in our normal face-to-face working environment, all of us are in exactly the same environmental context. So when we take a short break, we all still know the surrounding context in which we are all still immersed. But fundamentally it's fundamentally different when we're in the virtual space, because if I mute my mic and switch off my camera, nobody knows the context. Well, you know my context, it's a traffic jam. But for all participants, we don't actually know the content or the context in which they are working that may take away from their capacity to be able to engage in that online or digital conversation. And it's a factor that our participants said we really should pay much, much more attention to it. That there might be a dog in the background that's barking, the postman might have rang the doorbell to deliver a parcel, the children might be burning down the kitchen, making pancakes. We just don't know the surrounding factors. And that becomes really important then from the planning perspective. Go back to your point, Paul, about the methodologies that we choose to use. I think it's just something that we do need to be much more conscious of the fact that we don't know the context in which all of our participants are now taking part. But it has a big influence on how they can take part, how much they can contribute, and so on.
Yeah, right. The funniest place where my colleague participant joined the workshop was from hospital. One of my participants was participating from hospital. At 10 o'clock at night, he said, now it's the time to turn off light. So I excused myself. So that was the funniest place. But even he can participate in that environment also. Again, it's a benefit of online.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But housing is a serious problem. I mean, now the teleworking has been very popular. Many people are working at home, but if they had just this house not necessary to have a good environment, a private room, private study room. Instead, they have to access from a living room, or
Right.
So that is a problem, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But this also brings us to a point of one of the pictures I have chosen for this workshop, and let me show you a little bit on this image here, because this is an image from Oceania. I took it from random. If you Google search Oceania in Google and you search for image, this image appears. And it's amazing the similarity of this image and ourselves working virtually. Any comments on this?
All adrift in a sea of blue.
It very much looks like a network, though, doesn't it? It's sort of like everybody can reach everybody else, but they're at their ends of the network. So it's kind of interesting that way.
Yeah,
In many ways, we are interconnected, actually, in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose there's different ways to see that interconnection.
Right.
Again, I'm just thinking about that liminal space concept, that each little cabin is its own microcosm, and at the same time, as Nivek says, they are all interconnected. So there's a pathway to make the connections either individually or collectively, and really it's a powerful metaphor for what digital collaboration allows us to do. That we can connect just one to one, or we can connect many to many, depending on what our requirements are. But I suppose maybe that's one of the big challenges for us is to think just very differently about how we connect, when we connect, and why we connect. So that the numbers, it's much easier to have one-to-one engagements as sidebars in a digital setting than it might actually be in a face-to-face setting. With breakout rooms and so on, that's a very, very easy thing to set up now. Can be done at the push of a button. Whereas trying to organize stuff like that in a face-to-face context can be a lot more challenging, getting the group back together, not wasting time. So maybe there is a challenge to just think very differently about what the possibilities are. And maybe nobody has the right answer for any of this. We're all going to have to learn as we go along.
Right. And other thing is we have to thinking if this is international collaboration, we have to think about time zone. For example, Martin, you are in the morning, I am in the afternoon. Sometimes we have a program that happen at my time zone is middle of the night. It's my body asking me to sleep, but I have to concentrate with the facilitation program. That's the barrier for me to focusing on the program actually.
Yeah,
it is right. So, but it's been an amazing conversation, dear friends. We are approaching the end. Just to recap a little bit of what we have touched so far, if you agree. We are talking about the challenges of taking conversations that happen face-to-face, facilitated conversations, to the virtual space, to the online world. The challenges. We also talk about the usefulness of tools, and Nivek works with Synthetron, and they talked about Mentimeter. Kazu works also with Miro, and I've been talking, and Ashko Sekar also. We have also learned that we have to be flexible on the usage of these tools, and Sekar already shared their experience with using WhatsApp. This is amazing. It's really nothing about the tools are just that. They are tools for serving us, the meeting designers, the facilitators, to solve our problems. And these problems normally consist in making sure that there's a base level of equal participation for all, as Martin reminds us. That's really the challenge, an equal level of base participation, because no one wants to be felt up or down in relation to the skills of using these digital tools for facilitation. So that's a big challenge. And also we addressed the problem of the language barrier, because as the world becomes a village, we are all speaking Spanglish or whatever versions of English we can think of, right? This is interesting because it gives an unfair advantage for colleagues like Martin who are from Ireland, and he has his mother tongue is in English. So perhaps there's a challenge there. And Kazu pointed out that we hope technology can come in our rescue, and we are going to have the miracle tools from Microsoft and others that will help us to express in our own mother language, and everybody will see what we are saying. That will be amazing. And finally, we didn't need to talk about that much, but the methods, the methodologies. I would like to share a little bit my experience in 2018 with my first hybrid meeting. I was hosting this knowledge cafe conversation in the Royal Society of Arts. It's a beautiful venue in London. And we had like 20 or more participants virtually. So they were not with us in the room. And guess what happened? And this was 2018. Guess what happened? The ones who were in the room, we were just a group of 12 or 15 people in the room. We are much, much less engaged than the group that was online. The group was online, they were laughing at each other. They were talking jokes. They were already virtually hugging each other. Virtually, they were already biggest pals. And we in the room, we are much lower energy. And this was, for me, this was a discovery. And this was an event that took over during one day. So we had like morning period, then a lunch break, then afternoon. So it was long. And the challenge for me and the discovery for me was that the participants that were online were eager to be in debates and eager to debate. So what I realized is that the methodology is really important. And we were using the Knowledge Cafe methodology, which is what we call an unconference method, so to say, similar to World Cafe, and similar to other methods we can have, like open space. These kinds of methods, they bring people together because of the way the interaction is designed. And this is, I think, really important. It can make or break a meeting, the way the interaction is designed. So can you, dear colleagues, share a little bit your experience on how do you design for better interaction?
I won't answer that specifically, Paul, but just a really simple anecdote to illustrate how I think about that. Many years ago, I wanted to learn how to do wood carving, and I went to an old master, and I was going to him expecting him to tell me exactly which tool I would have to use to do exactly which type of cut, to do exactly which type of job in doing the piece of wood carving. And what he actually said to me was, he said, Martin, he said, it doesn't matter what tools you have. He said, whatever tools you actually have, he said, so long as you cut away the wood that you don't need, you're going to be a successful wood carver. So the life lesson that I took out of that was that while the tools are really important, I think what we bring to it ourselves in terms of openness, in terms of flexibility, in terms of courtesy to our fellow participants, I think they're the types of ingredients that will allow us to make best use of whatever tools we happen to have available to us at a particular time. So it's that flexibility of mind, I think, is probably the most important tool that any of us can bring in order to get the best possible outcome from whatever event with whatever participants we're engaging at a particular point in time.
Really an interesting story. Anyone else would like to step in as we are going to do the closing round soon?
May I share my experience of using World Cafe and OST in combined? Last year we had 25th anniversary series of events of the World Cafe. And in that event, we wanted to have as many World Cafe as possible sort of come up. So we wanted to encourage people to plan, raise hand, and organize their own World Cafe. So in order to do that, we had the World Cafe plus OST event online. And at the World Cafe, we were talking about what topics, what kind of World Cafe to organize. And then after the World Cafe, we went into the open space technology online and produced maybe close to 20 projects out of that. So this is not necessary, you can do that on face to face, but online as well. It is the World Cafe plus OST is a very powerful tool, I found.
Exactly. And I'm just sharing here my screen with the World Cafe method. This is precisely all about interaction and engagement. And what we can see, as Martin just conveyed, is that digital tools and video conferencing tools help us to create these tables, these virtual tables, very, very easily.
Yeah.
And so the participants can talk to each other and then rotate from one breakout room to another, and generating cross-fertilization of ideas and much more in-depth discussions than with ordinary methods.
We didn't use the special tools, except we used Google Slides. For the World Cafe.
Slides, you can use any types of tools. And as Martin just says, so long as you separate the right wood, you're going to be successful. Right? That's going to be there. Okay, friends, so we are approaching our 50 minutes barrier. And before I say goodbye to all our viewers, perhaps we could do a closing circle with final comments, thinking about the managers out there, our colleagues, our LinkedIn members that have to face the challenge of going back to the office and then still having the need to do online work with other team members. So what pieces of advices you could give in a nutshell to our viewers? Anyone?
Yeah, well, I suppose just the one piece of advice that I would offer is to ensure that you have a shared and a common baseline of capacity, of understanding, of ability in the digital interaction, so that you don't set the pace at the pace of the most knowledgeable or the most proficient or the most experts in digital, that you educate everybody to a baseline that allows everybody to participate equally in whatever interactions you're having. That would be my overarching suggestion for consideration.
Thank you. Martin?
Yes. Maybe the same thing. I recommend that we should take in consideration of participants' IT literacy level, so that, to select digital tools, select method, and so forth.
Yeah, I think we have a similar, suggestion that we have to understand our participants. We have to understand their situation. Then let's thinking about the tools later on. That's the most important thing. So we have the common, we have to use, the common tools they use to use in daily basis actually. And if they don't understand that, we have beforehand we have to send information, the in written word, in YouTube a link and something like that, so they can learn beforehand to join fully in our activity.
Thank you, Sekar. Nivek, piece of advice for our viewers?
I think one of the important things is to recognise that some people will need more support to join online processes than others, and if that's required, then taking a little bit of time ahead of an actual formal online meeting to do a little training session or something like that can really make it.
Oh, Nivek, I think we lost you. I'm not sure. Can you repeat again what you just said? Nivek, I think we have connection problems also for Nivek as he's trying to join us. Yeah, I think we lost the last part of.
Oh, sorry. So you didn't hear?
No, the end.
Oh, I was just saying, I think there's, you'll get a lot, a more effective engagement with people if you've supported them and they feel they're not only been shown how to use the tools, but they feel that you care enough to do that. I think that really makes a difference.
Fantastic. So lots of investment, lot of work from the facilitator side. And of course, my best advice to you all is to hire these fine people that are here with me. They're available to serve you for your meetings. So look at this LinkedIn post and you see the names of Sekar Shandy, Nivek Thompson, Martin Duffy, and Kazu. They were really, really pleased to help you all on your next meeting event. Thank you all for joining, and enjoy the rest of the evening, the day, or the afternoon. Martin, I hope you get back to your home office soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very much.
And I will finalize this by putting a video with my own introduction that we didn't hear in the beginning.
It's Paul Dia. I'm a certified professional facilitator from the IAF, which stands for International Association of Facilitators. Since 2018, I've started a book series on architecting collaboration, and my latest book, in co-authorship with other renowned digital facilitators and guest co-authors, is titled Beyond Virtual Meetings. It's all about the importance of the digital tools that can extend and augment the power of you as a facilitator and a meeting host in a virtual online meeting, but also on the hybrid meetings that are going to be so much needed in this post-pandemic era. Let me also talk to you about a group that I host on LinkedIn. It's called Digital Tools for Virtual Collaboration. We are now more than 770 members, and I will be very pleased if you will be interested to joining us.
And that's all for now. I'm talking also about the Health Data Forum. It's the current initiative I'm hosting in the end of October. If you are watching this and you are from the healthcare sector, join us. And my special thanks to our sponsors, Ascom and Unilabs. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this show. Thank you so much. Goodbye, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.